Katy Duck, Flower Girl. I have wonderful news, Mrs. Duck told Katy Duck. Aunt Ella is getting married. At the wedding, Emmett will carry the rings. You will be the flower girl, Katy, said Mrs. Duck. Tra-la-la, quack, quack. A wedding? A flower girl? Katy Duck was so excited. I must practice, said Katy. Outside, Katy Duck swayed like a daffodil in the breeze. She stretched like a tulip in the sun. She could hardly wait to be a flower girl. At last it was time for the wedding. Come along, Katy, said Mrs. Duck. We must get ready. First, Mrs. Duck dressed Emmett. Katy thought he looked a bit like Mr. Duck. Then Mrs. Duck helped Aunt Ella. Katy had never seen anyone so beautiful. Now it is your turn, Katy, said Mrs. Duck. Katy Duck closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Tra-la-la! Oh no, cried Katy Duck. That dress does not look like a flower at all. Oh, Katy, said Mrs. Duck, a flower girl does not look like a flower. A flower girl tosses flowers at a wedding, said Mrs. Duck. Katy looked down. But maybe this flower girl can dance like a flower too, Aunt Ella said. Now Katy smiled. The music began. Emmett carried the rings very carefully. He looked proud. You're next, Katy, Aunt Ella said with a smile. She gave Katy a big hug. Katy tossed flower petals to her left. She tossed them to her right, and as the music soared, Katy Duck swayed like a daffodil and stretched like a tulip. Everyone agreed she was a wonderful flower girl. Tra-la-la, quack, quack. How I love to dance, said Katy Duck. Tra-la-la, quack, quack. How I do love a wedding too.